Hello everyone, Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. It's a little bit earlier than usual, but here we are. And I know you saw the title, which is a little bit insane. It actually shocked me because I just saw this pop up on social media, Truth Social, like a few minutes ago, maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. And I'm like, is this real? Is Trump actually talking about the IDAHO4? Is Trump actually weighing in on Kohbergers' plea deal? And this is potentially very concerning. Why? Because when you have such power and you are a political figure, you are a figure of authority, I'm going to assume that you have a lot of pull. Now, I'm going to try my best to not make this about politics, right? I don't tell me what side you side with, if you're right, if you're left, if you're middle. I personally I don't care, and I don't like to really share my political views either, because we know how people are, right? I'm already getting unaliving threats. I don't need any more. But the fact that Trump is actually weighing in on this case that has been going on for almost 3 years is odd. It's concerning. It's weird, right? So welcome, guys. Welcome to the chat. I will eventually get to the chat, and make sure that you guys are remaining respectful. We are all adults here, right? So yeah, be nice to each other. You don't have to be nice, I guess. Just be respectful, right? Because we do not tolerate disrespect. You will be blocked. So Trump is weighing in on Brian Kohberger's plea deal ahead of the sentencing, which is this Wednesday at 9 a.m. Now, according to Fox News, Trump is posting on Truth Social about Brian Kohberger's upcoming sentence. Why is the president suddenly deciding to talk about this case, right? Trump said, while life imprisonment is tough, it sure is better than receiving the death penalty. But before the sentencing, I sure hope the judge makes Kohberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. And again, welcome to the channel. You can agree to disagree. He may be guilty. He may be innocent. It doesn't matter what side that you are on. But is it possible that the president has enough power, enough pull to try to manipulate the situation, try to manipulate the outcome? Could he potentially, and these are of course my theories, my speculations, my whatever you want to call them, these are my opinions only, right? For entertainment purposes only. But does he have the power, the pull? Could he potentially reach out to Judge Hippler and say, yeah, you need to tell him to give us more details? Now, if you are a guilter and you believe Brian Kohberger did this crime, then you are going to believe that he has all the details, therefore they should be shared. But if you are somebody who is still unsure of Brian being guilty, or maybe he knows more, maybe there is more to this case, or maybe he was not involved at all, how would Kohberger even share the details if he potentially was not even involved? Of course, it depends on what side you're on, I guess. But we heard Brian Kohberger take the plea deal, but never gave details. So a lot of people have wondered, well, who is Brian Kohberger protecting? Is he possibly protecting his parents? Because we know that Kohberger called his home back in PA in the early morning hours of November 13th and allegedly spoke to his mother, allegedly. Therefore, people have speculated that his parents were going to be called to testify, especially his dad. Why his dad? Well, we all know about the cross-country road trip they took together weeks after the crime. That was actually December 30th, right? Is it possible that maybe Brian Kohberger was protecting his father from having to testify, or maybe he was protecting his mother from having to testify? I mean, we've all heard that his mother allegedly has health conditions, heart complications. So why would you want to put your parents through that? Now, the other people believe that he wasn't looking out for his parents whatsoever. He just wants to take the plea deal so that he is not having to get the death penalty, right? Now, there's something that has been sitting with me for some time, and maybe you guys have watched it, where we have heard Steve Gonsalves say post plea deal, we knew when his father booked his flight. So why is Steve Gonsalves saying that? Now, some people have speculated that it kind of sounds like Steve Gonsalves was indicating that his father knew and came out to get him, which would potentially make him an accessory after the fact. But that theory doesn't really pan out, does it? Because Brian Kohberger left the state December 30th. And if you're really trying to flee, if you're really trying to get out of the state, why would you wait until December 30th? Why wouldn't you leave like a day or two after November 13th, right? So it doesn't make sense to me, but I also do understand, I guess, where people are theorizing that from. Now, we know that Brian Kohberger got a plea deal without having to explain in full detail exactly what took place on November 13th, which is what a lot of family members wanted, okay? Minus the Chapins, I believe that most of the family members want details, right? They still want details. And a lot of people are angry. They're saying this should have been a requirement for a plea deal. But again, not all cases end up in this way, right? Now, people are still actually talking about his lack of emotions, right? We hear him say, yes, 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 to all of the accusations. And his voice is very monotone. His voice is almost robotic, which is called flat affect, by the way, in psychology. And it is my opinion that that is due to the autism. We know he is on the spectrum, and flat affect is like very common in people with autism, right? Now, a lot of people find that scary, but remember, this is really normal. And a lot of people are still talking about his lack of visible emotion. They're like, he should be showing some emotion, even if he is not guilty, you know, having to say yes to these horrible crimes. He should have some emotion. But again, this man is on the spectrum, diagnosed, right, by a neuropsychologist, and also has OCD and also has anxiety. So you're not going to get the typical emotional visibility that most of us, like, you can see when I'm upset, right? Like my forehead wrinkles or whatever. A lot of the times on people on the spectrum, you don't see this. This does not mean that they're psychopathic and that they do not have emotions. It just means that they don't really show it, right? Their internal thoughts and emotions don't correlate necessarily with their facial expressions. So people are also very angry with Judge Hippler, as he didn't require him to stand up, and he said, you can sit down, you can get comfortable. And that really triggered a lot of people. It really triggered, I think, a lot of the family members as well, because they're like, what is going on? And then we see Ann Taylor. It comes across to me, let me know in the chat, maybe I'm just reading the body language differently, but it comes across to me as she's like soothing him, right? We see her, you know, like soothing him, right? So that really peeved a lot of people off. Now, what I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is the gag order. And we need to talk about the gag order because although I've talked about it briefly, we know that the defense does not want to lift the gag order yet. And we know the press is saying, well, he already said he's guilty. Even though he hasn't been sentenced yet, the press is like, okay, it is all right to have access to this information, so just let it be, right? Now, the defense doesn't want to lift the gag order yet. Because why? Because Brian Kohberger still has the right to appeal, right? And that's his right, granted by the Supreme Court, by the way. A lot of people are like, but he promised, he put his hand up and said he wasn't going to appeal. Okay, but granted by the Supreme Court, he can still actually appeal. He can claim having incompetent lawyers. He can claim, or AKA ineffective counsel is the proper legal terminology. Or he could also say that he didn't understand what was basically what he was getting into, right? Now, why doesn't the state want to lift the gag order? This is something that a lot of guilters have not mentioned. That is sus to me. Why wouldn't the state want to lift the gag order? Why wouldn't they want everything released? Especially if you're saying you're trying to get the truth out. He's already sentenced. Why wouldn't you release all of that information? I know some people are going to say, well, it's because they want to protect the victims. They want to protect blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you could black those out. You could blurb those names out, right? Potential people who may have been involved in the case, maybe other people. But when the state does not want to lift the gag order, it makes me think that they are hiding something. And I think I'm not the only one that feels that way. I personally believe that some family members, deep down in their subconscious, are also going to feel this way. Because if you really have a case that is set in stone, that you know this is the man who did it, and he already pled guilty, he's about to be sentenced here Wednesday at 9 a.m., why wouldn't you lift the gag order? Unless you totally fudged this case up, and lifting the gag order could mean that a lot of us true crimers, a lot of the media is going to be deep diving into all of these legal documents that we have not seen, that we have been blocked from seeing, and maybe find something that is a little bit sus, right? So that being said, I personally feel that the defense possibly has something up their sleeves for later on. It never sat well with me when I saw Bicca Barlow and Alyssa. They just look very angry in that last sentencing, but I just thought it was very strange also that Trump is just randomly weighing in on the Brian Kohberger plea deal. Is it because Trump has his own issues going on? Maybe he's trying to deflect. We know that, you know, the media has been on him for a while, whether you side with Trump or not. This is not, we don't care here. This is more on, is he just trying to get us to focus on something else? I just thought it was really, really strange, but it also slightly concerning. That being said, Wednesday is going to be a really interesting day, a day that we've all been waiting for, because we still don't know how this is going to play out. It's possible that Judge Hippler will say, you know what, we're just going to sentence you. That is that. He already accepted the plea deal. But it's also possible that after potentially seeing what Trump is writing out here on social media, that he may be like, yeah, since the president suggested this, we're going to make you give us details. And if so, is Brian Kohberger actually going to have details? Part of me wants details if he has details, but if he doesn't have details, I still want details. I want to hear his side of the story. If he's claiming to be innocent, how does he think that law enforcement got his DNA on that snap button of the sheath? But if he actually was involved in this crime directly or indirectly, we also want to hear the details. I personally just want the truth. We don't care at this point. We are so emotionally drained, some of us, because this case has been literally, it's going on 3 years. Like, it's a lot. And you guys know 99% of my channel has literally been on this case, because still to this day, something does not sit right with any of us, whatever side you're on. Even people that believe that Brian Kohberger is 100% guilty, I think are going to have questions. They're wondering, why won't the state lift the gag order? Why would the state destroy the house? The evidence, right? So that's all I have for the day, guys. Thank you guys for joining me in today's live. If you think that President Trump could impact how this sentencing goes on Wednesday, please leave a 1. If you think this was something Trump put out there for another reason, please leave a 2. And before I go, let's see the chat. Happy Monday, by the way. You guys look amazing. You're glowing. You're looking so tan. Hello, Shane. GG Monica. WSG Monica. Hi, Hoppers. Welcome. Hi, Rosie. Hello, Helen from Ireland. Hello, Shane. Hello, Nadine. Yes, I did have a lovely weekend. I hope you did too. A lot of baking and a lot of eating. Oh my gosh. Hello, Dawn. Gigi says, about time Trump hopped on the train to Idaho. Hunter Bree says, this is odd. Suds, Chibas. Weird, right? Hello, Dawn. Love my life. Hello. Big Plans, Little City. Good to see you too. You had me at Trump. It's just a little bit odd. Hello. Love you, madly. Hello. You're also shocked about this. It's just, why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about Brian all of a sudden? Hello, Offside Guitar Tech. What has Donald been doing and saying about Brian? Trump, baby. Why is it weird? It's odd that he's randomly weighing in on this, because It sounds like he's doesn't want his or doesn't want the media on him, right? Not for other things. Hello, Wolf Angel. Thank you so much. Hi, Alisanda. Thank you. Hunted Breed says, you can tell he has not been following the case because little Hippler sucks. Nika for president in 2028. Oh my goodness. The court should have shared more as well, not seal everything, right? And this is strange because there are so many lawyers on YouTube that have weighed in and they're like, okay, for this type of crime, it's normal to seal some documents, but when every document is sealed, it's like, what is going on? And then the few documents that are not fully sealed are like blacked out. Like, Hopper says exactly what I've been saying. You can't take a plea and then it all goes away. Thank you, Offset Guitar. You're so kind. Donna says, smash the like button on your way. Thank you so much. Mr. Mojo, a diversion from Epstein. And that's what a lot of people are saying. They're saying this is just a diversion. He doesn't want to talk about that. I don't know. You guys let me know what you feel, how you feel about that, right? Elisanda says, Brian doesn't have details. Exactly. So if he doesn't have details, what is he going to say? Please, Brian, if Hippler make you talk and give details, I want to hear your side of the story. Why do you think you were framed? Why do you think you were chosen? How did your DNA get there? Did you maybe give your DNA to law enforcement when you were trying to apply there? And also the police officer, the chief of police, where Brian Kohberger had allegedly applied to, came forward and he's now doing interviews and he's now saying, well, I'm so thankful that we didn't hire him because obviously he's an unalive, or obviously he's a freak show. So it's just weird. Idaho, they're hiding something. It's just something's hiding. Somebody's hiding something. Maybe a lot of people are hiding something, but it's all very, very strange. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment. Make sure you guys are subscribed to get notifications because a lot of you guys are telling me you haven't. And that reminds me, I will, if I remember when I log off here, I'll try to change that picture because you said that my picture of the red shirt blocks the live notification or something. I guess it blends in because it's red. So thank you guys for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. Take care. Leave me an emoji.